welcome to the Austining Public Library, but welcome to Austining. My name is Emily Macias Capellan, and I am the principal at Park School, your child's school. And I want to introduce my partner here to the right. This is Nancy de la Cruz Arroyo.
Hola. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening already. It's good to be here. I will be providing an overview of the dual language program a little later on. Buenas tardes a todos, o buenas noches. Yo soy Nancy de la Cruz Arroyo, directora de programas multilingües, y yo le voy a ofrecer información sobre el programa bilingüe o el programa de 2 idiomas.
Y yo soy Emily Macías Capellana, directora de la Escuela Park. Bienvenidos al pueblo de Austining y de la Escuela Park. Y aquí a mi izquierda está la señora Leilani Dooley. This is Leilani Dooley, our PTA president, who is going to introduce herself and introduce some of the mission of the work that the PTA does specifically at Park School.
And I'll translate for her.
Yes, sorry, I do not speak Spanish. I'm working on it. Well, hi, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the OEC, the Austining Early Childhood PTA, I am very excited to welcome you all to Park School. My daughter is currently doing her pre-K year at Park School, and she loves everything about us.
Bienvenidos a todos. Estoy muy feliz de ser padre, miembro de la Escuela Park. Tengo una hija que ahorita está en la clase de pre-K en la Escuela Park.
I would like to briefly introduce myself and the OEC. As she said, my name is Leilani Dooley, and my daughter will be starting kindergarten, obviously, in September. We've lived in Austining since 2016, and this is my first year both in the PTA and acting as its president. So obviously, I just like to jump right into the deep end.
And she's doing a great job. Leilani contó que tiene una hija que va a entrar al jardín en septiembre. Ella vive en el pueblo de Austining desde 2016 y es su primer año en el Comité de Padres de Familia y primer año como presidenta.
The OEC PTA is a volunteer organization of parents, students, and teachers. We help out with nearly every event at Park School and with both funds and volunteers. Our first job as the PTA is to help your students' years at Parks be as most well-rounded as possible.
El PTA de Padres es una organización voluntaria de padres, estudiantes y profesores. El proyecto es para poder ayudar a que cada alumno tenga una experiencia muy inclusiva durante los años de la escuela Austining.
In September, you will be able to join the OEC. As members, you will be able to be at school events or in school events that typically don't include parents but volunteering to help with them. You'll have the ability to get to know the school and the teachers so much better, and you'll get to have a wonderful insight into your child's experiences at Park.
En septiembre podrán inscribirse como miembros del PTA o la OST, que se llama. Como miembros, ustedes podrán entrar y voluntar su tiempo para apoyar los proyectos que tenemos designados para el año escolar.
We have no minimums or maximums on volunteering. We are just happy to have you there. For me, being part of the OEC has been the best, most rewarding experience anything that I've done so far. I've met other wonderful parents and got to know most of the teachers very well, and have had so much fun being with the kids as they experience whatever current adventure Park is having to do.
It's always an adventure.
Yes.
La señora Dooley dice que su tiempo como voluntaria ha sido una experiencia muy bonita. Ustedes podrán elegir si quieren hacer un mínimo, un máximo de voluntaria en la escuela. Y estar dentro de la escuela es algo muy bonito, de poder conocer a los profesores y ver todas las experiencias que los niños tienen dentro de la escuela.
It is truly delightful, and if you would like more details, please sign up at the after the orientation at the PTA table outside of the auditorium.
Si les gustaría inscribirse, pueden recibir más información afuera en la mesa del PTA después de esta cita. Y si no han firmado sus nombres, lo podrán hacer después. If you didn't have a chance to sign in or see some of the merchandise that the PTA is bringing in today, feel free to do so after this conversation.
Okay, lastly, the OEC helps to organize class parents and helpers for each classroom. What is a class helper or a parent? They are basically dedicated volunteers for the teacher to use to help organize in-class events and assist with setting up in-class events, which means you guys get to be at an in-class event. For instance, this year I helped cut up strawberries into little heart shapes for Valentine's Day kebabs for my daughter. It was a lot of fun. It was me and my husband watching. I think we were watching.
How long did it take you?
It had a couple hours. We watched like one episode of House of Dragons. And to help communicate with all of the other parents. Oh, it did. All right, I can pronunciate. Help communicate with all of the other parents that are in your child's class. It's a great role. The teachers really appreciate it, and it can be as big and small as you need. The class helpers are other parents who volunteer to help the class parents support their class.
Como miembro del PTA, ustedes podrán invitar a la escuela a hacer actividades con los profesores. Por ejemplo, durante el día del Valentín, la señora Julie pudo cortar corazones para la clase entera y me gustó mucho. Cada año tenemos padres asignados para cada clase y estos padres son los que ayudan con la profesora del salón a organizar diferentes actividades para el año escolar.
And then we'll be getting sign-up sheets for class parent and class helper on the first day of class in backpack mail, which is something you will learn to love. So just to conclude, thank you so much for your time, and if you have any questions, myself and the other PTA members and officers who will be outside of the table after the orientation, please come. We're happy to talk about anything you need. And again, welcome to Park School. Thank you.
El primer día de clases ustedes van a recibir una inscripción para que puedan, inscribirse si quieren ser padres de la clase. And I apologize for that. Okay, we're going to get started and hopefully we can have someone help us with the microphone. But once again, if you are standing up, si están parados, por favor, siéntense, háganse cómodos. Vamos a estar juntos un buen rato. So again, welcome parents. Those of you who didn't hear, my name is Emily Macias Capellan. I am the principal at Park School, the very proud principal at Park School. This will be I will be going into my 3rd year at Park School. And I have to tell you, early childhood has always been my passion. Learning and working with the youngest students has always been the work that I've done as a teacher. And coming to Park School has been a wonderful experience. So I am honored to serve as your child's first principal in Ossining. It is an experience that we hope is not just beneficial for you, but most importantly for your child. It is a family experience. It's something that we really cater to getting to know each and every one of you as partners in the work of raising your 4-year-old. So I am honored to do that. Ha sido un placer ser la directora de la Escuela Park. Voy a entrar en mi 3er año y de verdad que trabajar con niños pequeños ha sido siempre mi pasión, ha sido mi trabajo de profesora. Y durante estos años hemos podido compartir muchas cosas bonitas con los padres. Y es nuestra misión de poder apoyar a ustedes como padres por primera vez a la entrada de su hijo o hija a la escuela escolar. Así que vamos a empezar. We're going to share an overview. Obviously, there's no way that I can add in the PowerPoint everything that your child is going to experience. This is just a little taste of what you're going to see and expect, but know that once you come in as a parent, you're ours, and teachers are very, very, very involved in sharing and communicating with you on a regular basis the experiences that are happening in school. Okay? You ready? Do you want to click for me? Because now I have to
start. We are, obviously there's no way that you can see the school today, but we are going to host a tour on the 26th of May at 4:30, and we'll send out more information about that. So my partner, Ellie Mercado, our assistant principal, was not able to join us this evening, but she is also an integral member of the support team at Perk School. And Ms. De La Cruz Arroyo, our director of multilingual programs. Okay? One of the things that you should know is that we are obligated to partner with a community-based organization. And for us in Ossining, the community-based organization is the Ossining's Children's Center. 3 of our pre-K sections are housed at the OCC. So upon registration, we take every student who registers, who has a completed registration pending, that we have enough seats for everybody. And then at the end of the summer, you receive a letter letting you know whether or not your child will be at the OCC or at Perk School. The majority of the classes are at Perk School. 3 of them are at the OCC. Al fin del verano, ustedes van a recibir una carta de mí, dejándoles saber dónde, en qué escuela va a estar sus hijos para el año escolar de pre-K. Tenemos 3 aulas designadas en el programa de OCC. El resto de las clases son en Escuela Park.
That's you again? That's me again. I'll have an opportunity to chat with you in a little bit. Esa soy yo también, pero yo le voy a describir el programa de los idiomas en un ratito.
Okay, this is what we're going to be talking about this evening. Basically, a little bit about the pre-K screening that will be taking place in April and May, transportation, the importance of attendance, our district long-range plan, the day, a typical pre-K day, a little bit about the curriculum, some of the partnerships and field trips that we do take with our students, and then some of the social emotional learning efforts that we put in place at Perk School. Hoy día vamos a hablar un poquito sobre cómo completar la inscripción. Va a haber una inscripción en abril y mayo, la transportación, la importancia de la asistencia diaria, el plan largo plazo de nuestro distrito que tenemos aquí en Ossining, un día típico de pre-K, el plan de estudios escolar y las diferentes asociaciones con las que trabajamos y el aprendizaje socioemocional en la escuela de Park School. Okay. During the months of April and May, you will be scheduled for a screening with your child. You have to bring your child in. It'll either be an evening or a Saturday. And I believe our secretary is in the process of scheduling. Raise your hand if you've already received a date for your screening. Okay, good. You're going to need to bring in 4 new proofs of home address, of residency. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure to hold on to your screening information, and by that I mean the time and the date of your appointment, because they are pretty scheduled. And also, don't forget to bring your child. Durante los meses de abril y mayo vamos a tener una inscripción para sus hijos. Quiere decir que tienen que traer comprobantes de su residencia, de su dirección. Conserva la información de su cita de evaluación. Nuestra secretaria está ahora confirmando esos horarios con ustedes. Y también no se olvide, por favor, de traer a su hijo o hija. If you have not, how many of you have not registered yet? That's okay. So it's a lot of paperwork, and we understand that this is your first entry into the Ossining School District, and it's very important that we have all the needed documentation. If you have not registered yet, you can either stop by at Perk School and pick up a registration form. You can find it online,
or you can go to 400, that is 400 Executive Drive. That is our district office location, and you can pick up a registration form there. Si todavía no se han registrado, pueden recoger un paquete de registración en la Escuela Park o puede hacerlo en el edificio 400, que es el edificio del distrito. Okay. The home address that you share with us is the default address for pickup and drop off if you choose to have your child take the bus. Okay? Only people who are 16 or older are allowed to pick up in person or pick up at your bus stop. That needs to be in place. We have had situations where children come back to school, and I do not let children go unless that person is on our emergency contact list. I am very strict about that, especially at Perk School. Okay? So please make sure that all your documentation and all your contact information is accurate in our system. If you are going to make changes, you have to submit a form. By the way, this presentation will be made available to you, so you do not need to copy anything down. Everything will be shared in our website, okay? We do have a bus orientation in the summer, and the kids get to ride the bus for the first time in August, and we do just like a circle around the block. It's an experience.
And parents standing around crying.
Yes, and it's an experience, but we all get through it and they have fun. So we make it work. La transportación, es muy importante tener todos sus documentos, porque yo no voy a dejar salir a sus hijos si no tenemos el contacto apropiado en nuestro sistema. Solamente niños 16 o adultos son aceptables para recoger a sus hijos. ¿Okay? Si van a hacer cambios, pueden llenar el formulario. Hay una fecha donde tienen que tener ese formulario ya completado. Creo que es en agosto, no estoy segura. Y durante el mes de agosto tenemos una orientación en el autobús. Es una experiencia muy bonita, donde los niños vienen, yo les doy un horario que vengan y ellos se montan en el bus, hacen una vuelta a la manzana y después se van. Okay, this is our transportation department. Just letting you know that this is here. If you need to contact the director, his office assistant, or the assistant. Any questions that you have about transportation, their contact information is there, okay? Tenemos toda la información de los directores y los asistentes del Departamento de Transportación. Si tienen preguntas, todo esto vamos a tener para ustedes en nuestra página web. No tienen que preocuparse para escribirlo. Okay. Attendance. It is pre-K, but they need to be in school. They have to come every single day. I'm going to say that again. They have to come to school. No vacations. No, I'm going to spend the weekend with grandma. They have to be in school. Why? Because one day that's lost for a 4-year-old is like an eternity. And in pre-K, what we're doing is building structures, routines, consistency. That to kids is what feels safe. When your kids are out, they're going to be missing out because it is so much fun to be in school. We make school fun for every single student. By 3rd grade, we expect kids to be reading. And if they're absent 2 or more times a month, that's already a chronic absence. Because we're talking about 10% of school already lost. So please make sure. And I know kids get sick first time in school. I understand. I have 2 kids of my own. But as much as possible, only keep them home when they're sick. Es importante que sus hijos estén en la escuela todos los días. Todos los días.
Ms. Macias, I need to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, but we're having, we have a full parking lot and we have a car that is blocking that we need moved. It's an Acura, license plate HSM 1050. Tenemos un carro que está bloqueando otros autos y necesitamos que lo muevan. Es un carro Acura, HSM 1050 es la tablilla del carro. Gracias. I'm sorry. Thank you, Nadia.
Please sit down, por favor siéntense y no se paren. Vamos a estar juntos un ratito. Siéntense. Sí, por favor. La asistencia. Es importante que sus hijos estén en la escuela todos los días, señores. No solamente porque es pre-K, porque es su primera experiencia en la escuela. Si sus hijos van a estar ausentes, queremos crear, gracias, un hábito para que ellos estén contentos y felices de venir todos los días. Cuando ellos faltan un día, es como perder una semana, ¿verdad? Porque se les olvida todo lo que han aprendido el día anterior. Queremos crear hábitos positivos para que así aprendan a que les guste mucho la escuela. Our Oblast is information that we send to you every week. Once you register and once you become a parent, you're going to have access to our Oblast information. That is an email that you receive from me every single week, giving you updates on what's going on at Burke School. In addition to that, teachers will also be sharing information with you, mostly through email. Yes, we do Backpack Express as well, but it's important for you to stay involved. I tweet a lot. I'm a very social media, I believe that it's quick. It's a good way for me to share what's happening at Park School. So also do try to follow me at Park Principal. You can do it now and see some of the work that we've done at Park School so far. El boletín informativo es semanal. Ustedes van a recibir un correo electrónico de mí sobre los eventos que están ocurriendo en la Escuela Park. También van a recibir mucha información de sus profesores. Si ustedes tienen Twitter, pueden seguirme a mí y la subdirectora, la Park Principal, y pueden ver fotografías de todos los eventos que hemos tenido. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes.
Do the buses have car seats?
No. They don't have car seats, but they do have seat belts. And maybe we'll take questions at the end, so
If you have a preference for OCC, where and how does that fit
yes,
in?
when you come in for the screening, you can let them know at the screening that you have a preference for OCC. Si ustedes tienen una preferencia a la escuela OCC, cuando ustedes vengan durante esos días en abril o mayo, dependiendo del día que les toque, nos pueden dejar saber. We try to accommodate the OCC request, but we don't necessarily always make accommodate the Park School request, okay? Okay, I'm gonna keep going, and I see some hands, and I'm gonna try to give you time to ask questions at the end. How's that? Sound good? Okay. So this is a pre-K day, typical day. We start school at 8:50, arrival is at 8:50, buses stop at the door at 8:50, walkers walk in through the front. We serve breakfast every morning. Our students know how to go. Believe me, it takes 2 days to get our pre-K students. I mean, you'd be surprised. We have systems and structures that work like magic at Park School. When kids go into the cafeteria, have breakfast, the monitors send them off to their class. They walk alone to the classroom. The day starts usually with a morning meeting or a community circle. We have lots of play-based learning centers that our teachers incorporate on a daily basis. This is when teachers get to work with kids in small groups. There's a lot of parallel play, there's a lot of social interaction, a lot of language development, teacher-led activities that are aligned to the curriculum that she or he gets to practice with students in small groups. All of our activities are STEAM-based, literacy and math-based activities. Obviously, we do have lunch, recess, and in pre-K, we do rest. Kids do sleep or take rest time. It is part of a big chunk of time in the middle of the day, usually. Recess is outdoors on most days, even on cold days. We do try to get kids outside, sometimes even more than once a day. There is a period in the day where they do gross motor and movement development. And we do have a wonderful park right outside our school where teachers also take students sometimes. There is always a midday snack, and we also have theater, music, and art incorporated into our program for students. Dismissal starts around 3:10. We're trying to push it a little longer next year to 3:20. We're working on getting all those 4-year-olds out of the building quickly. Nuestro día escolar, ¿puedes seguir, Nancy? Empieza a las 8:50, señores. Empezamos siempre con un delicioso desayuno. Después empezamos el día en una reunión, en un círculo comunitario. El aprendizaje siempre está basado en el juego. Durante este horario del día tenemos oportunidad para que los profesores puedan trabajar con sus hijos en grupos pequeños. Y siempre está basado en la lectura, la matemática, las ciencias, en la escritura y siempre el habla. Tenemos tiempo para hacer movimiento estructurado. Siempre hay un rico almuerzo. Tenemos recreo todos los días. Y siempre hay un momento para que los chicos puedan descansar. Y algunos sí duermen. Mediodía tenemos una merienda y después tenemos arte, música y teatro incorporado en nuestro programa y la despedida es a las 3:10. In Austining, the entire school district, really works together to define our work under 3 big pillars. I would say actually 4 big pillars. They are multiple literacies, relevant learning, and culture of care. En el distrito de Austining, todas las decisiones que tomamos según nuestro trabajo como educadores están basadas en 3 componentes bien importantes. Son la alfabetización múltiple, el aprendizaje relevante y la cultura del cuidado. The 4th one, that's not there, but I'll talk to you about a little later, is family engagement. Okay? El cuarto, que no está aquí, que voy a hablar con ustedes un poquito más tarde, es el apoyo familiar. Y el traer a los padres para que sean con nosotros, nuestras parejas, para poder educar a sus hijos. Okay. This year, and actually this is great timing, I want to introduce to you our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Maria Meyer, who's standing over there. Maria and I, and Nancy, and my team at Park School, this year we're embarking on a research study for pre-K. One of the things that we felt we wanted to do in pre-K is really bring to pre-K a new program. For several years, the program that our students have been using have been more teacher-created programs. And this year, we felt the need to really bring something that's more consistent, that includes this criteria, these set of criteria that I'll let you read. I will not read that out loud to you. But we felt the importance and the need for the more consistent, experiences across all of our pre-K classes. And this is important to us because, as I said to you before, we share our students with the Austining Children's Center. And we want to make sure that as they move and transition to kindergarten, our students' learning experiences are similar. Doesn't that make sense? You guys need more? Again, I'm going to share this with you in our website, so you have time to read it as often, as much as you want. Okay. Este año estamos embarcando en un cambio de nuestro currículo para el programa de pre-K. Y es porque vimos la necesidad de tener que todas nuestras aulas y nuestros profesores tengan un programa que sea consistente, porque como les dije yo antes, nosotros tenemos 3 aulas que están en otra escuela y queremos que cuando nuestros hijos vayan al jardín, las experiencias que han tenido han sido basadas en un programa que sea consistente, ¿no? Ustedes podrán ver nuestro criterio, estamos viendo qué programa vamos a traer el próximo año, pero este es el criterio que vamos a tener que integrar al programa que sea nuestro. ¿Okay? The great news is, it doesn't matter because we're going to meet your child where they are. It would be great if they came into pre-K knowing all their letters and all their numbers, but you know what? Even if they don't, we are going to know every single one of your children and meet them exactly where they are and support their learning development. That said, I do encourage you to work with them on their letters first. And we'll talk more about that. Pero aprendemos en el nivel de cada uno de nuestros estudiantes que sean diferentes y les damos la herramienta para que pasen al siguiente nivel. We're always going to be studying children. That is the work that we do. We are going to get to know them as learners, but also as students who enjoy art, as students who enjoy play. What are their interests? And this is the work that we are obligated to do as their first learners, right? As their first teachers, I'm sorry. So meeting students where they are is our paramount mission, and then intervening when we need to. So it doesn't really matter what resource we select and what we bring, in that we're always going to be putting your child first and thinking about how those resources really support who they are as students, right? Because our job is really to prepare them to enjoy and love learning so that when they get to kindergarten, they're already there. So I am committed to that work as your child's principal, and I really enjoy the partnership that we have with parents. So once we do know what program we'll be bringing into Park School, I'm sure Ms. Meyer will agree that we will share more information about that, right? Okay. El desarrollo de sus hijos, la lectura, la alfabetización es donde empezamos. We always start with our literacy development. And literacy development for pre-K students begins with talking, begins with listening, having conversations. The phonemic awareness, that's being able to distinguish sounds. Before we even get to reading letters and books, we need to make sure that students are very well aware of how the environmental print plays a role and the sounds that they hear and how those sounds turn into words later on. That is where we start. That is where you're going to start with your child, and that is where we start with them when they come to us at Park School. So yes, we have lots of books, lots and lots of books. Our students in pre-K have sustained independent reading at this point because of what we've been doing since the beginning. El desarrollo de lectura empieza con el habla, con el desarrollo de hablar, con el conocimiento de que las palabras producen sonidos y que esos sonidos se convierten en palabras que podemos leer. Ese es el trabajo que hacemos al principio en pre-K. En nuestras aulas tenemos muchos libros, pero empezamos con ese desarrollo primero y después, poquito a poco, ayudamos a que los niños puedan hacer esa conexión dentro de lo que escuchan y lo que dicen y lo que ven en el libro. Our students are writers. They write every day. Drawing is their first written representation, and we encourage it. We show students how to use different shapes to form body parts so that they're able to clearly describe what their written work is. So, todos los meses, los chicos se dibujan ellos mismos. Y así ustedes pueden ver el desarrollo, cómo están mejorando como escritores. El dibujo para nosotros es nuestra primer paso en lo que es la escritura. And as I said to you before, we're raising readers. It's actually my logo at Park School. So when you see an email from me, you'll always see a little logo that says raising readers. And that is because that's what we do. We're raising children to love reading. We're raising them to really come into school excited. Our kids are talking about what they're reading. We invite you to come in as reading partners to Park School. And even in pre-K, we are sending books home every day. Every single day, kids go home with books. And even if they're not reading the words, they're opening those books. And you're sharing with them. What do you see? Talking with them about what they see in those books. Todos los días, los chicos van a casa con una bolsita así de libros. Y la expectativa es que todos los días estén leyendo. No necesariamente las palabras, pero teniendo conversación sobre los libros es nuestra expectativa todos los días. So one of the big pillars that I talked to you about before was relevant learning. And relevant learning has to do with making sure learning experiences are meaningful, that they stick, that they make connections, that students understand why they're learning what they're learning. And so we do that at Park School by really giving them experience outside of the classroom. ¿No? Tenemos aprendizajes relevantes. Y en Park tenemos la oportunidad de poder llevar a los niños a diferentes excursiones. ¿Por qué? Porque creemos que cuando los niños salen de sus aulas, están aprendiendo sobre cómo se vive en el mundo real. Así ellos pueden hacer conexiones que para ellos son más significantes. Before we go on, I just want to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Sanchez. Hello. Dr. Sanchez is our fearless leader at Austining. He's here to support you as new families. So thank you for being here, Dr. Sanchez. So just to continue, cultural arts and community-based organizations is something, experiences is something that we incorporate into our relevant learning as well, right? El arte cultural y las experiencias basadas en la comunidad. Como ustedes pueden ver, oh, here's a picture of the bus orientation that I was talking about. So that'll be you in August. We bring musicians, we bring the Austining Fire Department to Park School. For different cultural events, we have performances on the blacktop. And I do a lot of work with our other principals in the district, and we invite students from other upperclassmen to come into Park School. And they do a lot of sharing their own learning, reading aloud to students. So we do partner up, even though, you know, it's pre-K and kindergarten, we do make a lot of connections with the other buildings here at Austining. Any questions while I take a sip? Okay. Math is also learned through play, counting, one-to-one, and measuring exploration. We do this by incorporating a lot of play-based activities during math time. Students are learning through authentic experiences. Here you can see a picture of students. They were doing some flower arrangement and counting the number of stems and the number of petals that they needed. So el aprendizaje matemático es a través del juego. So we also have a dual language program that Ms. De La Cruz Arroyo will talk about in a little while. But I wanted to share that our curriculum, our program in dual language mirrors our English program. Okay? So just so you know, what we're doing in our dual language is the same thing that we would be doing in our monolingual classes. El programa dual de nosotros es un ejemplo paralítico a lo que es el programa de inglés. No hay diferencia. Estamos aprendiendo lo mismo, solamente en dos diferentes idiomas. And as I shared with you before, a lot of our work and our learning is learned through center-based activities. And our students play a lot. They learn a lot. Our centers are very strategic and well-planned. Our teachers think about what experience they want to bring in small groups. So you can see here, for example, this teacher, it was during the Halloween holidays and the fall holidays, and she brought in a pumpkin and students were pulling out the counting the number of seeds, talking about the texture and the feeling of the pumpkin and how it felt to touch the pulp stuff. And it was interesting. But our students are learning and exploring and making meaning of what they are learning through their playtime. And more importantly, what happens here is students are authentically and socially interacting in language with one another. So it's when the teacher comes into the center and starts to ask questions. So tell me about what you see there. Tell me about the snail on the tray. Tell your partner, what kind of shell does it have? How do you know it's okay? So these are the questions that are probing that language, and students are speaking to their partners in authentic ways. Durante el juego, los niños están conversando con cada uno, están escuchando posiblemente lo que la profesora nos está preguntando y están haciendo estas conexiones con lo que han aprendido en grupo grande durante su juego en grupo pequeño. We have many partnerships. We are so fortunate to live in a community where we have so many rich resources. And some of them include Rose Cohen, who is a musician who comes into our pre-K classrooms and does musical work with the students. Babel Farms, the students go apple picking in the fall. They feed the chickens. What else do? They learn about farm animals. So we include field trips to the farm at least twice a year. Theater O is another organization that comes into our classrooms and they perform off books. The students reenact some of the books. They do movement as well, musical theater. T-Town is a resource that we have here in Ossining. Students go to T-Town and sometimes T-Town comes to Park School. And the Ossining Public Library, as you can see, we partner with the library on a regular basis. Our students come to the library as for field trips, and then we also have librarians who come to Park School and they do story time in our classrooms. Sí, trabajamos mucho con las diferentes asociaciones como Rose Cohen, el Teatro, Babel Farms, T-Town y la Biblioteca Pública de Ossining. Les voy a demostrar un poquito más lo que hacemos con ellos. Okay, so Rose Cohen, as I said, she is the musician who comes in with her guitar. She does movement and songs with the students. And this year, we were able to host a big holiday concert. So the pre-K students put on a holiday show. And of course, we will try to do that again next year so that you all can come in and sing with our students. Durante el mes de diciembre tenemos un concierto musical donde la señora Cohen trabaja con nuestros estudiantes y hacen una actuación. El teatro de Theater O entra a las clases y trabaja con los niños. Lo que hacen es movimiento, teatro, actuación, todo basado en la lectura. So they usually do a lot of movement, a lot of dancing, and a lot of acting out. And most of the time, they align it all to books. So they read a story, and then they come back and they act out a story, or parts of the story. And the Ossining Public Library comes into our classrooms, and we have our typical story time. Y la biblioteca de Ossining viene a nuestras aulas y hacen lectura con los niños. So do not forget to make sure you sign up for your child's library card, okay? When you leave here tonight, everybody who's here, we have about 95 parents, 95 kids leaving with a library card. La cultura de cuidado es algo que para mí es muy importante, ¿no? Como madre, como directora, es algo que encontramos no solamente para nuestros estudiantes, pero también para nuestros profesores. The culture of care piece for me is very important, not just as a parent, but also as a leader in our school. It is not something that we implement just for students. It is something that we do community-wide. So when you walk the halls of Park School, you feel it. You see the work that we're doing to support one another. It is important that we come in feeling happy about why we're here. Our students know when teachers feel calm and when teachers are ready for them. And when teachers are ready for them, students come in with an ability to really just explode in their learning. And so culture of care is very much part of our work. We have an SEL curriculum that we also incorporate in our pre-K, and it starts as early as pre-K. And there's a series of conversations and discussions with students about ways to feel calm, ways to say sorry. It's a program that we started this year, and we're seeing some really nice results from it. So we have summer meet and greets throughout the summer. Tenemos encuentros de saludos en el verano. There will be one in July and definitely one in August. So look out for those dates and just opportunities for you to come together as parents, to meet each other, and for your children to see each other outside of school. Okay? Van a haber oportunidades para que ustedes puedan venir a conocer a ustedes como padres y para que sus hijos también puedan conocerse antes de empezar el año escolar. Será en julio y también en agosto. Okay. Some last minute reminders. You are going to receive, like I said, a welcome letter in mid-August. Do not call me before August. I don't know who your child's teacher will be. I'm kidding. You will receive a letter letting you know if your child will be going to the OCC or to Park School, and who your child teacher is for the school year. Join us, like I said, for the bus orientation in August. That is a fun day, and we're trying to include maybe one of our meet and greets to happen on the same day, okay? And, like I said, our meet and greet dates will be coming out soon. Usted va a recibir una carta a mediados de agosto informándole sobre el nombre de su profesor y el programa donde ha sido asignados sus hijos, o si van a ir a la escuela Park o al OCC. Tendremos la orientación del autobús en agosto y también tenemos 2 planeados encuentros y saludos durante el mes de julio y el mes de agosto. Okay, so this is just information about our building staff in case you need to reach out to anyone. Again, this will be posted in our website for you to peruse. Myself, my assistant principal, our amazing social worker, Ms. Jimenez, our school nurse, our school psychologist, and our CPSC coordinator, Ms. Walsh-Parra. Esta solamente es una información sobre los administradores y trabajadores importantes o que usted a lo mejor tendrá una pregunta durante el año. Esta información siempre va a estar disponible para ustedes por si acaso. Right. And now it's Nancy's turn. I can have a sip of water.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. So I know that's a lot of information and about to share a lot more information with you, but I just want to pause to tell you how excited I am that you are about to enter the world of Park School. I was fortunate enough to be the assistant principal at Park School for 4 years, and I can say they were some of the best years of my career. And even now, Emily knows when I'm having a bad day. If I am having a bad day, I show up at her door and I say, I just need to be at Park School. So estoy emocionada por ustedes que van a entrar al mundo de la Escuela Park, porque hasta hace 4 años yo fui la subdirectora de la Escuela Park, y es un sitio maravilloso porque es un sitio solamente para nuestros pequeños, para nuestros niños que tienen 4, 5 y 6 años, y en realidad es un sitio muy especial. So I'm going to provide an overview of our dual language program. Our dual language program is primarily a bilingual education program. New York State requires that if any school has 20 or more students who speak one language, we must provide a bilingual education option. So el programa bilingüe, el programa de 2 idiomas, es un programa que llena los requisitos del Estado de Nueva York, que dice que si tenemos 20 o más niños que hablan un idioma en una escuela, tenemos que proveer un programa bilingüe. So many years ago, and I think it's 19 years ago, Austining decided that they wanted to offer a bilingual program using a dual language model. And what that means is that we integrate students who are learning English as their second or perhaps their third language with students who are learning Spanish as their second or their third language. Hace muchos años, creo que son 19, el distrito decidió que el programa bilingüe sería uno que integraría a los estudiantes que están aprendiendo inglés como su segundo o su tercer idioma con niños que están aprendiendo español. And the goal of that is to really provide opportunities for students to learn together. So they're learning, as Ms. Macias says, the same curriculum, they're learning it through two languages. Y el propósito es que los niños están aprendiendo, algunos están aprendiendo español, algunos están aprendiendo inglés, pero están todos aprendiendo juntos. And the question I mostly get from parents is, but what does that look like? How does that work? So in pre-K and beyond, what the teachers do is really support students learning the curriculum through two languages in very developmentally appropriate ways. So there's a lot of what we call comprehensible input, right? There's a lot of music, and there's a lot of visuals and images, and there's a lot of singing and dancing, all using language. And when children enter at an early age, they're all just continuing to develop language. So they're developing language, they're developing two languages, right? And so we know as we get older how difficult it is to learn a second language. Our students, when they come in, they start absorbing the language and they start making those connections between the two languages. So our teachers are very, very skilled at teaching and ensuring that it's comprehensible, and that we're supporting students to continue to learn the language. Nuestras maestras y nuestros maestros son muy eficaces en proveer oportunidades para que los niños aprendan los dos idiomas, y lo hacen con canciones, lo hacen con gestos, lo hacen con imágenes, pero todo en el aula es concentrado en ayudar a los niños a aprender en inglés y en español, porque los niños a esta edad lo que están es aprendiendo lenguaje. Eso es una oportunidad para ayudarlos a aprender los dos idiomas. And this is just a snapshot of what the bilingual brain looks like, right? We used to think that it was, well, here's the Spanish brain and here's the English brain, but the research has shown that they don't live separately, right? Bilingualism in a way alters the structure of the brain, and that students who know more than one language have some flexibility, right, within your brain. And I'm sure many of you who are bilingual or trilingual know that you're thinking in one language and you're speaking in another, and that's a very particular skill. So there's intellectual, there's educational, there's personal, right? Think about the ability to travel and communicate with others in another language, and there's social and economic advantages to being bilingual, which I'm sure many of you are aware of.
¿Quieres traducir eso?
I have
Okay. Con tu cerebro bilingüe.
Con mi cerebro bilingüe, sé que sabemos que antes se pensaba que si uno sabes español acá, sabes inglés acá, que todo era como separado, pero sabemos que eso no es así, que todo está integrado, que eso hace al alumno completo, que a veces ustedes saben, si saben dos idiomas, están pensando en uno y están platicando en otro. Yo, por ejemplo, aprendí mis rezos, mis oraciones en español, y de noche cuando rezo no puedo hacerlo en inglés, lo hago en español, ¿verdad? Y entonces es mi cerebro que me está diciendo esto porque tengo una conexión a una experiencia. Entonces sabemos que el ser bilingüe, especialmente para nuestros niños que están aprendiendo inglés, que es necesario porque vivimos en los Estados Unidos, que los que saben más de un idioma tienen muchas ventajas, y lo que queremos es que en un futuro también a lo mejor estudien 3 idiomas, que tienen ventajas intelectuales, tienen ventajas educativas, personales, sociales y económicas también, y que el cerebro bilingüe les ofrece un poco de flexibilidad, y vamos a hablar un poquito más de eso. We also know that learning a second language, and if any of you have tried to learn a second language, that it's a process, it's a trajectory, right? It's the research has shown that it can take anywhere from 4, 5 to 7 years to fully be fluent in a second language. So we start with a very silent stage where you're just listening to the language, and then slowly students start to produce, right? They start to say hola, or they start to say hello, and then they start to create more complex and sentences, and they start then to be able to engage socially, not just academically, and then moving on that path to what we anticipate will be their advanced fluency, right? But this is a process that takes time, and I always show this slide to parents because I say, you'll see if your child is in dual language in pre-K, you may not be hearing a lot of production, but they are listening and understanding, right? And what happens in those classrooms is building what we call that receptive language, and then the receptive language will come, eventually the reading, the writing, and all of the other modalities of the second language. Esta es la trayectoria de cómo se adquiere un segundo idioma, una segunda lengua. Entonces siempre le enseñamos esto a los padres porque queremos que comprendan que aprender un segundo idioma coge tiempo, ¿verdad? Es un proceso. Y si ustedes han tratado de aprender un segundo o un tercer idioma, saben que no es así inmediato. Que los niños empiezan con, dicen que 6 meses es escuchando el idioma, después poco a poco progresan a empezar a hablar, a platicar, a decir unas palabritas, después unas oraciones o unas frases, y después se están comunicando con los amiguitos, y empiezan a hablar en el aula, y entonces empiezan a escribir, empiezan a leer, y esta es nuestra meta para nuestros estudiantes en el programa de 2 idiomas, que empiecen aquí en esta etapa y lleguen a la etapa que ya que tienen fluidez en el idioma, que lo pueden hablar, escribir, pueden leerlo y pueden interactuar con otros estudiantes de esa manera ya con mucha proficiencia. So this is the trajectory for our students in both of their languages. So our model is a two-way dual language program. 50-50 is our number because we integrate 50% of our students in each class are students who are learning English, and 50% of our students are students who are learning Spanish, right? Because it gives them opportunities to converse, to learn language from each other, to have language models. And then our third pillar of dual language education is always to ensure that our students are able to have interactions with students from other languages and other cultures. We want to build that cross-cultural competence within our students. El número mágico es 50-50 porque integramos a 50% de los estudiantes en el aula que están aprendiendo español y el 50% que están aprendiendo inglés. Porque lo que queremos es que interactúen, que usen el idioma, pero que también tengan oportunidades de aprender de otras culturas. The other 50 is that 50% of our day is spent in Spanish and 50% of our day is spent in English. El otro 50-50 es que la mitad del día es en español y la mitad del día es en inglés. Entonces tienen el apoyo para aprender a leer, a platicar en sus dos idiomas. So they have opportunities for emergent literacy development in both of their languages, in addition to learning content. We do have a class for students who may just be at the beginning stages of learning English, or some of our students who may have recently arrived in the country and the community. We have one class in pre-K that is a one-way dual language that is composed solely of students learning English as their second or third language. They spend most part of the day in Spanish instruction, 90%, and 10% in English. And as they go up in grade, we incrementally increase the level of English with the goal that by third grade, they're in a 50-50 model. So this is solely for students who are learning English as a second language. Tenemos un modelo, un programa bilingüe. Yeah, I have duplicates for everything. Tenemos una clase en pre-K y en kindergarten y hasta el tercer grado que integra a los niños que, por ejemplo, acaban de llegar al país, que no saben lo mínimo de inglés. Entonces los integramos con una maestra pre-K es una maestra, en kindergarten es un maestro, el señor Reyes, que es excelente, que los integra en el programa y son todos aprendices de inglés, reciben la mayor parte de la instrucción en español, el 90%, y el 10% es en inglés, y entonces mientras suben de grado se le va incrementando el nivel de inglés, se le va poco a poco incrementando, y ya para el tercer grado se le integra con los niños en el two-way, en el de dos idiomas, pero lo que queremos es apoyarlo para seguir, lo que queremos es que sean bilingües, ¿verdad? Que puedan aprender a escribir, a platicar, a hacer todo lo que puede hacer un estudiante bilingüe para que no pierdan su idioma natal mientras desarrollan el inglés. Right? The goal is that we hold on to our language while we develop the second language, right? And we grow both languages. This is, I mentioned this, the language allocation. Students have exposure to both languages daily, and the daily schedule may vary by grade. So in pre-K it looks a certain way, and then in the upper grades it looks a certain way just because of the nature of the grades and the school structure and the school day. Los estudiantes tienen exposición a ambos idiomas diariamente, y entonces el horario de cómo dividimos el idioma puede variar dependiendo si es en pre-K o K o en los grados más altos. Okay, this is just an example of the pre-K schedule. Let's say this is week 1. In the morning, our students have emergent literacy, and blue is, we color code our classrooms, so you'll see that when you walk into our classrooms. Blue is English, and green is Spanish. So week 1, your child would have emergent literacy and phonemic awareness in English. It's a lot of, as Ms. Macias said, tons of books, lots of literacy experiences, very age appropriate, very scaffolded and supported for students. And then in the afternoon, they would have phonemic awareness in Spanish, a shared reading, and some other literacy activities, and then math and content, which is usually, let's say, social studies, but it's literacy, right? It's reading stories and sharing stories and acting out. And then week 2, it flips. They would have their morning in Spanish and then their afternoon in English. We found that this model for pre-K works rather than changing day by day, because it lets our kids live in a language in the morning for an entire week, and if they're reading a book, let's say they're reading The Snowy Day, and they're going to continue to do activities that week with that book, The Snowy Day. I don't know what The Snowy Day always did, we do a lot, but they will continue to build on that for an entire week. And then when they flip over to the next week, they might be doing a little bridging el día de nieve, right? But they're not rereading the same book. They're moving on to another book, but the teachers are making connections to what they read in the other language. So este es el horario, por ejemplo, de pre-kinder. En la mañana el azul es inglés y el verde es español. Por la mañana pueden tener alfabetización emergente, conciencia fonémica en inglés. Y entonces por la tarde tienen también lectura y escritura compartida, matemáticas y contenido. Entonces la siguiente semana tienen español por la mañana y tienen el inglés por la tarde. Entonces eso le provee experiencia por una semana completa, donde pueden estar leyendo un libro, pueden estar haciendo actividades de un libro, y entonces la siguiente semana van al otro libro, pero los maestros se encargan de hacer las conexiones entre los dos. No van a repetir el libro en español o en inglés, sino van a hacer otro libro, pero lo que aprendimos en aquel libro nos lo vamos a llevar con nosotros al otro idioma. So it's very intentional bridging between the two languages. And this is an example of what it looks like. This is Ms. Ortiz's pre-K classroom. So you can see the children are learning, and we're making connections between la letra, the sound we learned in English and the sound we learned in Spanish. So we're bridging and making those connections. This is from 3rd grade, and most dual language classrooms have a bridging board, which means that they're looking at how do the languages look the same or sound the same, or, you know, the word examination, examinación, that's a cognate, right? So we know what that means. We just have to be supported to understand what that means in the other language. So if I know what photosynthesis is in English, I know what it is. I just need to learn the vocabulary for it in Spanish. So the teachers do a lot of intentional bridging. This one is from 5th grade, Roosevelt School, and you can see this is a lot of vocabulary. It's not always a translation, sometimes it varies, the anchor charts look different, but this is what our teachers do, intentionally bridging between the two languages, and I tell you, they do it daily. It's very seamless. They do it daily because they have to in order to support our students, to transfer of language. So estos son ejemplos de este es de pre-kinder, este es de tercer grado y aquel es de quinto, de cómo los profesores hacen las conexiones entre los dos idiomas, ¿verdad? Para que los niños aprendan en el inglés, en español, por ejemplo, con los cognados, para que puedan comprender los conceptos en los dos idiomas. So, le están enseñando cómo los idiomas son diferentes y cómo son iguales. So it's a way of showing how the language is different and the language is similar, right? It's metalinguistic awareness. Our goal for our dual language students is that they achieve the New York State Seal of Biliteracy. That really is our goal. And I have to say, the reason that ASANI is certified to offer the Seal of Biliteracy is because that first cohort of dual language parents 19 years ago, when their kids reached the high school, they helped prepare the application. So we sit on their shoulders. They helped prepare the application so that the district could award the Seal of Biliteracy. And this is an acknowledgement and a recognition that our students receive when they graduate. Our students go through dual language until 6th grade. And then in 7th and 8th grade, they have advanced study of Spanish. So they have Spanish A and Spanish B in 8th grade, and they leave the middle school already with 2 world language credits, I'm sorry. So these are courses especially designed for dual language students who have an advanced level of proficiency, right? They're not gonna take Spanish 1 because we anticipate that our students have a more advanced level of proficiency if they've been in dual language. When they reach the high school, they take Accelerated Spanish 3, SUNY for Bilingual 1, so they can get college credit, and then they take AP Spanish. And all of these, they need to take the AP course to qualify for the Seal of Biliteracy. They also need to have some community service in the language, which is easy to do. We use them for everything, our high school students. And they also need to prepare a portfolio. And it's very exciting that right now our students are starting to prepare their portfolios in 7th grade, digital portfolios, that they're going to take with them from grade to grade. So we anticipate it's going to make it easier for our students to reach the Seal of Biliteracy. And it's quite an honor. They get a special court at graduation, we have a reception for them, and it's very exciting. So el distrito, nuestra meta es que los niños en el programa de 2 idiomas lleguen al sello de alfabetización, that's a hard word, o el sello de bilingüismo. Lo que queremos es que los estudiantes lleguen a esta designación que se le dan a los que se gradúan de la ASANI High School con 2 idiomas. Entonces, que tienen que crear un portfolio, tienen que hacer servicio comunitario 10 horas en el inglés, y es una designación que se da a los niños o a los estudiantes que pueden demostrar que tienen proficiencia en 2 o más idiomas. Entonces, después que los niños están en el programa de 2 idiomas, en el grado 7 toman una clase que se llama el Español A, y en el 8º, Español 8, que son clases ya más avanzadas de español, porque si han estado en el programa de 2 idiomas, esperamos que tengan una proficiencia más elevada. Y entonces salen de la AMD, de la escuela AMD, con 2 créditos para hacer su diploma. Entonces, cuando llegan a la escuela secundaria, entonces pueden tomar clases avanzadas, incluyendo clases que le dan créditos universitarios, para llegar al sello de bilingüismo, que se le da una designación especial en la graduación. Este año tenemos 45 estudiantes que están preparando sus materiales para el sello de bilingüismo. We have 45 students in the pipeline this year who are finalizing their Seal of Biliteracy portfolios. So this is just what it looks like. As you can see, this is a typical student who has not been in the dual language program who would start at Spanish 1. And this is our dual language who already, when they get to high school, would start with the accelerated 3. And we do get some kids who, when they go to middle school, say, I don't want to do Spanish anymore. And the parents say, I don't want to do Spanish anymore. And most of the time, we encourage them, right? We want them to get to this final project and to get their seal of biliteracy. I don't always see it as a loss. I sometimes see it as we opened up a path for them to know that they can learn languages. And some of them say, I want to learn Italian. I want to learn ASL, right? We want them to continue this path, but I see it as an opportunity to continue to promote their language learning. So esa es la trayectoria de los estudiantes. Aquí están los que van en el programa de Dual Language, de 2 idiomas, ven que ya empiezan con español acelerado. Mientras tanto que niños que no han estado en el programa de Dual Language empiezan con un español básico. So ya cuando, para los estudiantes de Dual Language, ya van a estar en una etapa más avanzada. Okay, so let's talk about Dual Language admission. We have 6 to 7 classes on each grade level. We have slowly throughout the years added sections because there's interest, there's demand. So a few years ago we added a 6th section, and just last year we added a 7th kindergarten section, because we're also conscious that if you don't get in pre-K, we want to build more opportunities for students to have an opportunity to be in the program in 7th grade. So starting this year, there are 6 pre-K classes. Next year, there's 6 pre-K classes. There are 7 first grade classes, 7 kindergarten classes, 7 first grade classes, and then going up, there are 6 classes on grade level. So we have high demand. We select students through a randomized lottery. So if you have already applied, we have your application. When you come in for screening, you will confirm, and the staff will confirm that you have applied for dual language. And I have a link here to the lottery protocol, but it's also on the website. Thank you, Ms. Meyer. It's also on the website so you can see the process, and it's really just randomized. Unless you have twins. If you have twins, you get 1 number, because we wouldn't want one to be in and one to be out. So we also give consideration to siblings, and I'll share why that is something that we do. So if you have a child who gets into dual language and then you have one who enters a couple of years later, we give preference to those students. And it's because we want to support the development of the language at home, and we want you to be able to do that. Families will be notified in the summer with the letter that Ms. Macias sends out. It'll say whether you have a dual language class or not. And then if you do not get in pre-K, there are limited seats available in kindergarten and in first grade. Esta es la información sobre la admisión al programa de 2 idiomas. Tenemos 6 clases en cada grado, que son de 2 idiomas. En el kindergarten y en el primero vamos a tener 7 clases, porque hemos aumentado el número de clases, porque sabemos que tenemos niños bilingües y también que hay interés en la comunidad. Entonces, escogemos 50% niños que hablan español y 50% que hablan inglés, menos la clase bilingüe, que son todos hablantes de español. Si usted tiene un niño que ya está en el programa bilingüe, en el programa Dual Language, pues su hijo ahora que va a entrar se le da preferencia, porque queremos que los niños platiquen y practiquen el idioma juntos. Y tenemos, si su niño no entra en el jardín de infantes o en el pre-K, tenemos oportunidades para que puedan entrar en el kindergarten o en el primer grado. And this is the last thing I'll say is, if you have applied for dual language and you receive a seat and you wish your child to participate, we ask for your commitment. We ask that you tough it out till the end, that, 12 years, 13 years from now, we see your child walking across the stage with their seal of biliteracy and with the understanding that language development takes time, right? And I say that because sometimes by kindergarten, some parents say, he's not learning. Remember that it takes time, and it's a commitment, not just because during the pandemic we learned they weren't in school, they weren't using the language, parents were panicking. And I said, you're at home, put the TV on, put it in Spanish, immerse themselves. We know, I think it's harder for our Spanish learners, but we live in a community where you have opportunities to be exposed to the Spanish language. We want both of our communities, our English speakers and our Spanish speakers, for you to make an effort to provide other opportunities for them. Because school, you have them more than we do, even though you feel like we have them more, you have them more than we do. So we want you to make those connections, and that could be play dates with a child who speaks, if your child is English dominant, with a child who speaks Spanish. It could be, finding opportunities where you expose them to the language. So the commitment has to be, it's not just in school, but that you are, as a parent, commit to providing opportunities to expose them to the other language. And to be able to wait and support. That doesn't mean that if you're concerned, you're not having a conversation with the teacher, or you're not having a conversation with me saying, I'm concerned. It's not unusual for students to be 2 grade levels or below in their second language. We see that, as long as they're continuing to grow. Lo que pedimos es compromiso familiar, que le dé tiempo si su niño está en el programa de 2 idiomas para que los niños desarrollen el idioma. Sabemos que aprender el idioma es un poco difícil, toma tiempo. Queremos que ustedes se comprometan a tratar de fomentar, si su niño habla mayormente español, fomentar el inglés, o planeando actividades con niños que hablan inglés, que platiquen el inglés con un hermano o una hermana que es mayor, que sabe el idioma, llevarlo a las actividades, sea en la escuela, donde sea, donde sigan aprendiendo el inglés. El español lo vamos a seguir fomentando, lo vamos a seguir apoyando, pero queremos que ustedes se comprometan con nosotros si van a estar en el programa de 2 idiomas. I think that's it for me. Here's my contact information. Again, this will be on the website, and I have a web page on the district website if you need to reach me. Este es mi correo electrónico, pero y esto va a estar en la página web del distrito, y yo también tengo una página web en el distrito escolar. Gracias, y ahora we'll open it up to questions, but I'll hand it back to you.
See, that was a lot of information, I know. And please know that this is just a little taste of what school is like. You're going to be receiving a lot more information, both in person and in written communication. So please, if your questions were not answered today, call us, email me, contact information is on the webpage. Very easy. If you have anything that you're concerned about, we're always available. Sabemos que han escuchado bastante, mucha información, y es solamente un poquito de lo que es nuestro programa. Pero no se preocupen porque van a recibir mucha más información cuando sus hijos se inscriban y empiecen en la escuela. Is there a question that you need to know today at 7:15 on a Wednesday? As I know many of you have to put children to bed and have to maybe have dinner before. So, yes.
What's the difference between OCC and Park School?
Well, I'm the principal at Park School, and while OCC has their own leadership team, the work that we do is parallel. So when we do have concerts and things like that, the children from OCC do come to Park School. So we try to include as much as we can. Really the biggest difference will be the location. OCC is a beautiful site. It's a brand new building, but it's 1 year. All of our students at OCC are going to come as Park students in kindergarten, for sure.
And their teachers are certified the same as the teachers at Park School?
Same ratio of students in the classroom. 1 teacher, I forgot to mention, every pre-K classroom has 1 teacher, 1 teaching assistant. And we keep the cap at 18. That's no exceptions. I fill every single classroom. Okay. La pregunta fue cuál es la diferencia entre la escuela Park y la escuela de OCC. Oh, the other difference is that we do not have dual language classes at OCC.
So just to clarify, the lottery for dual language is done before we select placement for OCC and Park.
That way, everyone who applies has an opportunity to get into dual language before we decide who goes into the OCC.
La diferencia es el lugar, ¿no? Ellos tienen sus directores, yo estoy en la escuela Park, pero tratamos de incluir como podemos los estudiantes de OCC para que vengan a la escuela Park y participen en las actividades lo más que podemos. Por ejemplo, si hay un concierto, ellos vienen. La lotería se dispone antes de que las clases sean asignadas y en la escuela OCC no tenemos clases dual. Any other questions? Yes, Annie. Annie is also one of our OT PTA co-president. Annie has a son in our kindergarten class. Yes.
I was just going to ask if a child receiving speech services disqualifies them from dual language.
If a child,
If the child receives speech therapy, they qualify for dual language. Yes, we don't make any exceptions. It really is a randomized lottery. At some point, if parents feel that it's a struggle for whatever reason, then we have that conversation, right? But having speech therapy is not something that would exclude them from dual language or occupational therapy. We really believe that all children can learn the two languages. But again, it's a parental choice. La pregunta fue si un niño recibe terapia del habla, si puede calificar para el programa de dos idiomas, y la respuesta es que sí. Creemos que todos los niños pueden aprender dos idiomas. Ahora, si después hay algunos problemas o algunas preguntas del padre de los padres, pues entonces podemos hablar sobre su niño y si es el mejor sitio para ellos en el programa bilingüe.
anything else? You had a question earlier, I remember.
Yeah, you answered that one.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you tell us what the screening day actually is? Like what?
Oh, sure.
what is-
Thank you for asking. So it's going to be very appropriate for 4-year-olds, and I know that some of our pre-K students are 3 still. They're going to go through a series of tables, and they're going to be asked questions. Pretty much what they're going to do is play with blocks. They're going to ask them questions about numbers, questions about colors, touch different body parts. They're really assessing their ability to express themselves language-wise. You'll get to meet our school nurse. You'll get to meet our ENL team, some of our ENL teachers. You'll get to meet our social worker, and that is pretty much it. And so the whole thing takes about 30 minutes, okay? And it's really to give us information. First of all, it's required of us, as pre-K is a federally funded program, right? Am I correct? UPK, and we are required to do child time and just know who our students are before they come in. It supports what we do in the classroom from the get-go. Again, but I go back to what I shared before, and that's really, no matter what, that's reading for us. The students can come in and feel like they don't want to talk, and that has happened, right? So it is one set of eyes on one particular day in a school that they haven't been in yet. But when they show up at our doors on the first day, our teachers begin to get to know them as well. Okay, so I don't want you to worry about that. That was a long response. Can you help me?
La pregunta fue el día que traen a los niños para el screening o la evaluación, ¿qué se le hace? Primeramente, si su niño es un aprendiz de inglés, pues se le va a evaluar un poquito. Queremos que platiquen, que hablen para ver su nivel de inglés o su nivel de español, su nivel de su idioma. Van a darle algunas actividades con bloques. Lo que queremos es saber un poco de su niño, aunque vamos a conocerlos más cuando lleguen en septiembre, pero tener un poco de información sobre su niño, y también eso es requerido del Estado de Nueva York, que provee los fondos para el programa de pre-K.
I just want to say thank you. Oh, I see your hand. I will answer. I will come to you and ask you the question after I say goodbye. Sound good? All right. Thank you so much for being here. It is a pleasure meeting all of you. I look forward to getting to know your pre-K students come September. If you have any questions, you know where to find our information. Like I said, this will be our names: Emily Macias Capilla, Nancy de la Cruz Arroyo.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming.
Good night. Buenas noches a todos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.